Georgette Chen, who was born in France in 1907, came to Singapore in 1953 with a distinguished record. She belongs to the rare breed of immigrant artists who, having made Singapore their new home, immediately exerted their influence on the local art scene. Having received her training in Paris, New York, and Shanghai, Georgette Chen is rich in Chinese and Western art traditions. Her works were exhibited in the Salon d'Automne in Paris and subsequently in the Salon des Tuileries, the Salon des Indépendants, and the Musée du Jeu de Paume. As a painter in oil and pastels, Georgette Chen injects vigor and life into her paintings of still life and landscape. Although her paintings have a range of bright colors, they are never gaudy. Instead, they provide freshness and harmony that come from close observation and an affinity with the subject. Georgette Chen also does portrait paintings which, in her thoroughness, reflect her keen sensitivity. Today, her works are found in the Singapore National Museum Art Gallery, the Musée du Jeu de Paume, and in private collections in Paris, New York, Shanghai, Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, and other places. Georgette Chen taught art at the Nanyang Academy of Fine Arts from 1953 until her recent retirement. She not only spearheaded the prolific artistic activity in Singapore in the 50s, but was deeply involved in the training and nurturing of young budding artists. That many have blossomed and achieved prominence today is due in no small measure to the valuable guidance, commitment, and effort of Georgette Chen. Georgette Chen Liying was awarded the Cultural Medallion for her outstanding achievements and contributions to art. 1929 to 1934, France. Three main periods in Georgette Chen's work are readily discernible on the basis of major changes in style and content. Her career as an artist seems almost predestined. Art was always a natural and serious interest in her family. Her father, Chang Ching-chiang, was a man of adventurous spirit, a scholar and an artist who owned businesses in Europe and the United States, and who, as a friend and supporter of Dr. Sun Yat-sen, moved in political circles. The family spent much time in Europe, and Georgette was born in Paris in 1907. Her formal education was entirely Western in character, although there were several periods of a few years' stay in China during her childhood. Feeling for her father was deep. His encouragement of her interest in art went beyond the ordinary, for he even joined in her lessons in Western painting from the Russian artist Podgorski. The influence of realist and Barbizon art can be distinctly detected in the landscape Coast of Brittany, 1930. Its dark tones and forceful brushwork faithfully reproduce the grey sombre North European light. Equally evocative of a mood, Landscape 1930 to 1933 possesses something of the formal beauty of Corot style, without the sentimental interpretation. The artist is less concerned with rendering the solidity and stability of objects than with capturing atmospheric effects and mood. The still life provided Georgette Chen with a subject ideally suited to her analytical, contemplative manner of working. Early works such as Still Life with Oranges and Still Life with Cut Apple and Orange 1928 to 30 are conceived in heavy paint, suggesting the volume and texture of things rather than describing them, a technique reminiscent of early Cézanne. Like Cézanne, Georgette painted at such close proximity to a subject that her viewpoint seemed directed almost from above. The knife motif and the dark bluish tones of the latter painting are also Cézannesque. The few surviving studies of the nude figure are evidence of her dexterity as a figure draftsman and her interest in the human form. She attached great importance to drawing directly from nature and executed portrait sketches with great penetration. Those of her husband, in particular, are alive with his psychological presence. The years 1934 to 1948 might be termed Georgette Chen's Chinese and Hong Kong period. They include still lifes, landscapes, and interior genre subjects painted in China and Hong Kong in a post-impressionist vision in general, with a particular form of emphasis. The style is a vigorous open-air naturalism. The early works of this period are naturally stylistically close to her French paintings. Self-portrait, painted in Hong Kong around 1934, for instance, has more in common with the introspective symbolist art of Odilon Redon and Gustave Moreau than with the objective expressions of the post-impressionist. By the end of the 1930s, Georgette's work broadened and became more fluid in rhythm. Portrait of Eugene Chen, 1939 to 1940, invokes the spirit of Van Gogh's Portrait of Dr. Gachet, with a thoughtful, rather melancholy facial expression and the posture of resting the head with cheek in hand. The coloring is muted, the face sensitivity drawn, and the forms convey volume and a sense of roundness. By the mid-1940s, the artist's affinities with Van Gogh have increased. Portrait of Eugene Chen, 1944, is a casual yet perfectly balanced design which possesses the immediacy of a snapshot. Like Van Gogh, Georgette paints in masses of flat tone or slightly broken color and treats the picture surface as decoration. Portrait of Eugene Chen, 1940, however, is more akin to the late works of Cézanne, with its thin washes of translucent paint and the vast areas of untouched canvas. An uncharacteristic work of Madame Chen's, it nevertheless demonstrates her graphic and painterly skills and her ability to record a likeness simply and directly. Self-Portrait of 1946 is another striking example of the artist's cool, reserved and economical style, which only serves to heighten the emotional impact of the portrait. Her interest in the common people is manifest in the numerous figure compositions executed at this time. To her favorite theme, that of mother and child, she brings a new interpretation. Composed with tender inventiveness, these paintings nevertheless avoid the sentimental. Georgette sees the mother as busy, proud of her child, but unconsciously so and thoroughly matter-of-fact. In Women with Child in a Sling and Mother and Child, 1935 to 1945, the figures are placed in the front plane of the picture, physically bringing them close to us. They fill the canvas with impressive monumentality. The sentiment is carefully considered, intense, but not mawkish. It is in her still life compositions that one can perceive Georgette Chen's preoccupations, conceptions, and evolution as an artist. Many people do not understand why artists take such pleasure in still life painting. For instance, in Waxed Duck, 1941. All Vegetables in Clay Pot, 1940 to 1945. What was it that really interested Georgette? Obviously, the rendering of actual appearances, the representation of details discernible by normal sight as accurately as possible, using a certain color key and momentum of rhythm. The various objects are united by continuous movement suggested by their outlines and brush strokes and by the background design. These compositions are a rather casual arrangement of many different shapes and forms in which the thick application of pigment admirably suits the texture of the vegetables, meat, and kitchen utensils. Like Cézanne, Georgette chose to emphasize the solidity and basic geometric structure of her forms and create a sense of permanence rather than transience. The stylistic changes which occurred in Georgette's paintings of the late 50s and 60s are largely due to a perception of the effect intensely bright tropical sunlight has of heightening colors and flattening forms. The impact of this phenomenon was fully realized in her paintings executed during her visit to the east coast of Malaysia around 1960 to 1961. She developed her own shorthand, which captured with great economy, intensity, and instinctive decorative flair her feelings for these scenes, in which light is used to set a mood of activity and excitement. East Coast Vendor, 1961, is a figure composition of impressive monumentality. The overwhelming presence of the figures is due to their almost largest life size and their proximity in the immediate foreground of the picture. It comprises a complex juxtaposition of strokes which neither suggest texture nor model form in a conventional way, but which through their freely changing character impart a sense of vibrancy to the surface of the canvas. It is nature drenched in sunshine. Terengganu Market Scene, 1961, is equally evocative of sunlight, warmth and color. Permeated with spontaneity and gaiety, full of bright color and alive with human beings, it has more than charm of subject matter. A comparison with an earlier genre painting, Malay Wedding of 1959, pinpoints stylistic development. Whereas the latter still retains vestiges of tonal modeling, the Terengganu picture conceives volume in pure, flat color, and all transitional tones of modeling are suppressed. Light falls directly on the figures, and shadows are reduced to a minimum. Georgette Chen has always been deeply attached to the sea. Scenes of the Singapore waterfront comprise an important body of paintings produced in the 60s. Exceedingly fine examples include Lifetime of Singapore, 1962, Singapore Waterfront, 1963, and China Building, 1965. Despite the application of vivid colors and vigorous brushstrokes, which give these paintings a sense of motion, they reflect calm and serenity, the brilliance of a sun-drenched day. Her approach is not the intensely subjective response of an impressionist such as Van Gogh. It is more objective and analytical. Her works are straightforward, yet lyrical, records of the physical world. The dominant character of Georgette Chen's work as a whole comes from her intense response to nature, combined with a detachment. Her landscapes and rural scenes are marked by a vigorous open-air naturalism, while her portraits are conceived in a cool, reserved style, which serves to heighten their emotional content. Her most significant contribution is, however, in the exceeding fine still lifes covering the entire span of her working life. She never failed to give liveliness of touch and solidity of structure to the simplest motif. She always had the detachment from which troubled work seemed to flow effortlessly. The directness and honesty of her work make it unique today. It is the expression of her innate and unrationalized joy in nature.